Hello and welcome to Afternoon Express. I'm your host, Umhlonyane, and I have my guest on the show, Toby Zizwe, and we'll be tackling matters of the day. Now, these are your headlines for today. Minister of Social Development launched the opening of the COVID-19 Social Relief Distress. Umhlonyane, known as the wormwood, causes controversy as it is said that it can cure COVID-19. Students slam UNISA's decision to take learning online. And today's developing story, nurses lament going to work as COVID-19 cases continue to increase. These are the stories in detail. Minister of Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu, launched the opening of the application process for a special COVID-19 Social Relief Distress Grant on Monday. The grant was announced by President Cyril Ramaphosa as part of the government's efforts to cushion the disadvantage from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Department of Social Development said it has received more than 15,000 applications through their WhatsApp platform so far, and all the qualifying applications are expected to be processed on the 15th of May. They further state that applications, or rather applicants without smartphones, will be contacted through SMSs.
Ikakhulukazi sibingelela ama-SASSA recipients. You know, I see them these days, balokhu bayadansa bathi qing qing. Ngifuna ukuthi laba badansayo bathi qing qing. They must understand ukuthi the money that is in here ayona imali yokudlala. Imali esetshenzelwa kakhulu. Imali okufuneka ukuthi yondle abantwana. Imali okufuneka ukuthi ikwazi ukukhulisa abantu nanokuthi abantu bakwazi ukuziphilisa. So I'm saying I see that there's lots of social media playing around with the cards and dancing, king, king. The bottom line is that this card, it holds a financial resource for people to use that money sparingly, number one, for them to use this money for right reasons, for them to use this money that's in the card for the well-being of their families, for the well-being of themselves. But I also do want to say the money is money that has to be taken care of, because this is money of people who pay their taxes to make sure that our social safety net is protected. So laba badensayo bathi qing qing ngizonilandela just to see ukuthi le mali ni spenda kuphi. Thank you very much. Dumelang sanibonani molweni, absheni, and a very good morning to all. I wish to thank you for joining us.
Now, listening to the video that we actually just watched, we must firstly say that the government has actually come with a great initiative of providing a social relief grant for people that are actually affected by the COVID-19. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, well, hi to you, Zola, and your viewers there. Well, one of the things that I'm noticing here, well, the government should be lauded for this. Mm-hmm. It is a good initiative. I mean, you've got a lot of people who are unemployed in our country. Mm-hmm. Of course, they needed the relief. But then also at the back of my mind, I have a question to say, had it been this pandemic didn't come, were these people going to still remain neglected, for the lack of a better word? Because now, you get it, they are being attended into simply because we've got a pandemic. If the pandemic didn't come, that means the survival of these people was still, the government was not paying attention to it. Why did we have to wait for a rough situation? And also, if you look at the amount offered to the unemployed, that 350 rand, that's quite, so I don't think it's an amount that you can let somebody survive on it throughout the whole month. So I don't know what's your take on that, to say 350 rand on monthly basis per month. What can you buy with 350 rand?
Before I answer that,
yeah, sure.
What you're basically trying to say here is that the government had the capabilities of actually looking after people, providing these social grants before the pandemic.
That is without a doubt. Without a doubt, if they can afford 6 months to say we're paying these people and also increasing the social grant, that means the capacity is there. Why not use it before the pandemic? What was the reason for that?
That is actually that's a very interesting point right there. You're more than welcome to share your thoughts on our social media platforms. Moving on to the next story of the day, Umhlonyane, known as the wormwood, is a herb that's known for its distinctive aroma as well as its alleged health benefits. While native Europe, it grows across various climates, including parts of Asia, Africa, South America, and the United States. The herb has become the focus of controversy after Madagascar President Henri Rajoelina announced that it can cure COVID-19. We had a special guest in studio earlier, Umhlonyane Ndlanzi, who gave us an insight on this matter. You can watch the video.
Everything that comes from Africa has always created controversy. Because if we have to look at the first pandemic that we experienced as Africans, that hit us very hard was HIV and AIDS. And Mando Shabalala came and said there are medicinal plants that can actually treat the virus. And there was an outrage from the very same government, you know, some people in government, but from also us as a people, because we as an African nation, we don't believe solutions coming from our own people, let alone government, because we are the ones who place government, so government is a reflection of us. So we can say, how do we get government, but how do we get ourselves? Because if you're looking at Twitter, then Umhlonyane, which is a medicinal plant which was created by God, now becomes an issue of religion. Because of who actually uses it as traditional healers. So for me, the thing is that we still are, you know, we live in colonial constructs as Africans, even though we are liberated 26 years later. So if we can shift our paradigms and understanding of where those belief systems come from, because every time we have to speak about our own ways, our own pathways, we are the first to question them. So then how do we get the rest of the world to sign up to something that we're questioning, something that we're not signing up for ourselves? So it starts with the people before it starts with the government, because we're saying it's the government of the people. So if the people come and say this is what we are needing, and don't come at night in the dark. If they become open and say, I want to go and take this as an alternative to mainstream medicine. I want people to give me African medicinal plants so that I can be treated with COVID-19. And then we see it. So that's where you should begin. Because government also does what the people, if the people revolt and say we want this, because we know that Umhlonyane is not new to us. Lingana is not new. We've been using it for lots of times. It's even available at pharmaceutical company, pharmacies that are well known, but it's well packaged and it's written in English. So it's got colonial ways of packaging things. People would rather go there than even grow it. People would rather go buy it than buy it at Faraday multi-market. And that's freshly harvested. So meaning the medicinal properties of it are really in high potency. But people won't do that. So the way we see ourselves as African, that's what is problematic. Because if we don't believe in ourselves and in our ways, but when we were speaking about the vaccine, people were saying we should try it. Even though we understood that at the time COVID-19 was not hitting us as hard as Europe. Why can't you test those ideas there? But why don't we want to test our own? We first have to debate it. We first have to question it. We have to go through religion. And it's so controversial because it's a plant and religion says we are being created the same way as plant. So it's a
All right, in the interview that that happened in Morning Express with Umhlonyane, she did mention, rather, she gave an insight on the matter of Umhlonyane, and also mentioned that it's very, very important that Africans actually believe in their own herbs. What's your take on that? Because remember, at this point, we are waiting for, what do you call this? We're actually waiting for a solution to this pandemic. But what she was basically saying in the interview earlier on is that we already have what we can use to cure the virus as Africans, but we just do not believe in ourselves. What's your take on that?
I think we should firstly look at the angle in which the traditional healers, the traditional medicine comes from, the angle in which they are viewing all this. Because for them, like if you note, Umhlonyane said that everything that comes from Africa is controversial. If it comes from Africa, now that tells us, one, that if you look at the whole world globally, medicine is westernized. That's the first thing you should know about that. Now, if you have this thing coming from Madagascar, and also, like they're saying it's a cure, already cured, the adamant that it cures, but then it didn't go to the lab. I mean, that's how things are done, because if you look at it, you can say maybe there's economical politics involved in it, you know, because in the Western, they now said to be having this plant, the herb, but they harvested it in Africa, then they go and plant it that side. So this is what happens. I spoke to yesterday Bishop Mapongade. He says this, that we as Africans, we have this problem of we don't have the resources to harvest the indigenous knowledge that we have and then put it in the lab. That's why in the Western, they're stealing these things and then they once again reintroduce them to us as if they're the ones who developed them. So if you look at that, the traditional healers there, they are saying this. We have these things, but we don't know how to, like maybe, I'm going to say improve them, to put it that way, or maybe make sure that they meet the standards of the so-called World Health Standards. But then at the same time, their lament, I understand it. It's because they have something big. In Africa, we're rich, very rich. But then how do we make that work for us? That's their question. Now you've got the president in Madagascar, they announcing that this thing is able to cure the virus. How do you go and say it's able to be adamant by using an experiment of somebody who's here? What if somebody from the Western uses that thing and then they struggle with it? Side effects of it, who knows about those? Because it's possible. People do not react the same way to the medication. Those are the questions you look into to say, what exactly is here? Is it really the cure, or should we let it go to test? And then after it has been proven, then we can work with it, I think.
All right. I think what is causing a lot of confusion, rather, or a lot of rather concerns raised about this matter is the fact that why do we already have these herbs, right? It has worked for, there are people that have actually come forward to say, for instance, Mr. Zwelinzi Mavavi, who actually was tested positive for COVID-19 and actually used Umhlonyane to cure COVID-19.
But also he was admitted in the hospital.
Okay.
So it's not that what is source for the goose is source for the gander here. It's like it depends on the person. How does your body, your system react to the medication? We can't react the same way to it. That's why we have to say, okay, for some people it's useful, but will it be useful for everybody? It's people with different reactions. That's the controversy around it. To say, take it to the lab. That's what I'm standing on, to say, take it to the lab. From the lab, let's talk more then. Because for now, if we say, you know what, it works, give it to people. What if it takes more lives than curing more lives? It's a possibility. You can't write that out. It's a possibility. It's not because African medication is being looked down upon, but let's follow the proper procedure. That's it.
It's actually quite evident that there's a lot that needs to be said about Umhlonyane, and also, I mean, what you're basically saying is that it should be taken to the lab, and actually so that we can see if, you know, because I mean, I can just use it at home and I might not use it the way I'm supposed to be using it, and it might not work for me on that. You're more than welcome to actually comment on our social media platforms about that. What do you think about Umhlonyane? It's going to be an ongoing discussion because seemingly there's a bit of a debate between Africans actually sitting and folding their hands waiting for the Western to actually bring the solution to curb COVID-19, and also us having what we should be using to actually curb the virus. Now let's go to an ad break. We'll be right back.
Uthando nokuzikhandla kanye nokusebenza ngokubambisana ikona kanye kuzosiza ekuthenini sikwazi ukulisana negciwane le-coronavirus.
Kila mtu anaweza kubeba virusi hivi vya corona.
Una don't see wetin dey happen for town now. Coronavirus dey kpai people like say no tomorrow.
Social distancing is the new etiquette. Least we never forget.
Dulang Khaye and help
to stop the spread of this virus.
I'm here to plead with you guys, but you know what? Use a mask.
Wash your hands with soap and sanitizer and keep the good spirit.
Make you always wash your hand before you fine.
Dlala indima yakho.
It's not just for you, it's for the next person, ukoko, umkhulu, your uncle.
Healthcare workers stay at home so that they may see their homes too.
Well, as we are facing a pandemic, Galaxy News on Starset is pledging you to not just to protect yourself, but to protect others and the people you love.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express. You're still with your host, Uzola Gasholwana, and my co-host, Toby Zizwe. Before the ad break, we actually talked about quite a controversial topic, the matter of Umhlonyane being used to combat COVID-19, or rather to cure the virus, which is actually what is actually the major issue right now in the world. Now, I want us to actually take it to the next story, which is UNISA's decision to conduct open book digital examination as part of the semester's assessment, and it has continued to spark an outrage among some students. Now, Galaxy News understands that the decision has not been welcomed by a number of students who raised several issues, and these include the possibility of the high volume of exam scripts clogging the system, and poorer students complained about a lack of data to download exam papers and then upload their answers to the system. Other students were worried about their online typing skills. Now, some students were concerned that they would be stigmatized for qualifying by passing open book exams. Here's a video to watch.
Angikuboni kahle lokho ukuthi abafundi babhala ama-exam online. Especially labafundi kunabafundi abahlala endaweni zasemakhaya la abangenawo ama-resources njengama-cellphone, ngoba kuthiwa kufuneka ukuthi ube nefone ene-webcam ne-laptop ene-webcam. Abafuna abafundi abanawo ama-laptop bazokwazi kanjani ukuthi bebhale? Ne-network-ke emakhaya iyahlupha i-network. I-network ihambe nje 2 hours wonke ingabikho efonini, ibhale nje ukuthi emergency calls only. Uma ukuthi kune-exam mhlawumbe ya 2 hours, i-network bese iyahamba, uzokwenza njani? Uthi uyasubmit take mhlawumbe ungaphela nalo 2 hours ungaqedile kwakubhala. Uthi uqeda ukubhala, uthi uyasubmit angasubmiteki, bese wenza njani? Uyafeyila, usufana nomuntu ongayibhala nge-exam. Or usubmit mhlawumbe ama-questions ubona ama-questions awu-5, wena ukwaze ukuthi u-answerishe mhlawumbe ama-questions awu-2, usuzowuthola lowo 10 marks lowo out of 100, ufeyili nje lowo vele. Ave kunzima, nedatha liyabiza. Hayibo, uzosapha idatha lokubhala for 2 hours kwaphela, thothi uzothenga idatha la 60 minutes, thothi li-100 Uma uzothenga idatha la 2 hours kuzobe malini leyo mali, zesasaphi leyo mali. Ave kunzima, most yabafundi nje bazofeyila. Angiboni kahle le online exam mina.
However, UNISA defended the decision last week, saying the online exams were in line with the COVID-19 coronavirus lockdown social distancing regulations. It is said that despite the students' concerns, the exams would go ahead as scheduled this month. UNISA said the open book exam option was one of the methods in the university's assessment policy that had been approved by all the relevant stakeholders. The university said that National Students Representative Council was also consulted regarding this decision. Now, I want us to actually revisit this matter and talk about the issue of online learning.
Yes.
And obviously, we do understand that institutions are putting this program, or rather this system, into place to try and combat the spread of COVID-19.
Yes.
What do you say about students that actually don't have access to internet and also data?
Well, before we can go to that about those who will struggle, I think in my own point of view, the online learning, it is the future of education. Firstly, let's look at the institutions at first. They are pushed against the wall. From your basic education, higher education, they have a year calendar they need to save. Because if they nullify it, it will be a loss to them, because this pandemic commenced right almost in the middle of the year. So there was work already, a lot of work done, even though there was still a long way to go. So we should understand this. If they're going online, for them, it's the only option they have, because they cannot call back the students. So it's like when somebody says, do something for them, and then you have only one option. If you don't do that, you're collapsing. Should they allow the system, the academic this year to collapse? Of course, I mean, it will come at a cost. So they can't allow that. Now, when UNISA says students should go online, note this. They did not just only compel students to do that, but it is in their policy. According to their statement, they said it is in their policy that to say even the stakeholders, the old stakeholders involved with UNISA, they are aware of this, and they introducing it to the students to say it is some sort of a damage control. So you cannot fault them fully, but then also you go to the UNISA students, you've got thousands of students who have never done the exams online. And that is a very big challenge. Some are staying in rural areas where there's no network coverage for that matter. Some don't have laptops. Some are saying they said that the government, the UNISA rather said, they'll be using smartphones to write their exams. You're writing your exam with a phone. what kind of an exam that's going to be. Will it be an open book exam, or the dignity of it at large is at stake also? So I think if you look at those situations, it's quite a hard situation to discuss on, because you have people who are supposed to graduate this year. They did not. You have some who thought this would be their final year, and it's not happening. So it's quite a very difficult situation, but I think if there is something that can be done to save the year, why not go for it? Complaining changes nothing, and it's not going to help anybody. But to do what you can do, maybe we might see something better.
I think it's rather safe to say that for them to actually continue with online learning, let them make sure that everyone is on board. Let's talk about students that are actually not as privileged enough to have internet access, to have data. Because it gets to a point where now we're looking at the whole system as being unfair, because there are those who are not even on board, people that are not even quite equipped when it comes to all these things of typing and also doing things digitally. So if the institution, or rather other institutions, want to opt for online learning, which is the solution right now to make sure that the academic side of things, or rather academic sector, does not collapse. So
I for one believe this. Nobody expected this pandemic. It wasn't planned, right? Now, if we say that they should make sure that everybody's on board, how much time do we have? How much time do they have, rather, to say everybody must be on board? Can they be able to supply everybody with the needed equipment? The answer is a big no, that they cannot do. They cannot afford to do that. So what they can do is, let's all adjust. Play your part, I play my part. It's your academic at the end of the day. You need it. And also, they need to finish the year. So let's meet each other halfway, jump with it, see what we can do. Because I think the only thing now we're going to have people also who are going to use this as an opportunity to make excuses, right? To say, you know what, I can use this to my advantage. You know what, online thing, I'm not used to it. It's not fair for me. It's not about is it fair for who and who now. It's about what can you do to pave a way forward. That's what counts, I think, because if it's academics, you lose this year, you thought next year you're going to be working. It's not going to happen. I'm telling you, next year is going to be longer than you're thinking. That's the biggest challenge we're facing now.
All right, we are more than welcome to hear your thoughts on this matter. Do you think that it's fair for universities to actually continue with online learning? Or rather, you think that every single person should play their part on the side of the students and also the stakeholders involved in this matter? Moving on to the next story of the day. As health workers celebrate International Nurses Day, the fight to defeat COVID-19 comes with the emotional strain and has highlighted how vulnerable South Africa's frontline workers really are. One nurse, Sylvia Rousseau, told reporters on Tuesday that the COVID-19 changed her entire life in a blink of an eye. She was also quoted saying, I quote, "For the first time in my career, I feel like going on duty is suicidal. The increasing number of infected COVID-19 cases scare me." Earlier in the week, President Cyril Ramaphosa has warned that as the lockdown is gradually eased, life will return to normal but not be as it was before. Prior to the commencement of the lockdown in the beginning of May, as the virus could become as part of our daily existence. In his weekly address from the desk of the President, Cyril Ramaphosa said that as the national coronavirus alert is now at level, which means that extreme precautions remains in place to limit community transmission, government's key priority remains at steadily reducing the alert level by keeping down the infection rates on a low. Ramaphosa said this also comes against the backdrop of experts now agreeing that the virus will remain a threat to the global public health for some time. The South African president further stated that as a result, people must prepare to continue to live with the novel virus amongst us for a year or even longer. The South African president and African Union chair added that even after the lockdown, the world will still need to observe social distancing, wear face masks, wash hands regularly, and avoid contact with other people. Furthermore, Ramaphosa also emphasized the importance of adaptation in places of worship, social groups, meetings, even after lockdown restrictions are relaxed tentatively and with extreme caution. This comes as a number of cases in the country surpassed the 11,000 mark, while the global death toll hit the 280,000 mark with close to 4 million infections. So now, Looking at the stats, the rapid increase every day, we are hearing people numbers increasing. For instance, today we had more than 600 cases.
That's scary, isn't it?
It's very scary, right?
But well, you know, I think firstly, in this situation, we should salute the nurses. In fact, let me just say health workers, and also specifically to the nurses, it's their day-to-day. Well, it's a bittersweet because I don't think there's anything to celebrate. But if I look at firstly from Sylvia there, who said that she's in fear, anxiety, it's scary now. And things are no longer the same. You look at those situations, you understand what exactly is happening in the forefront, because the reason why this is so scary, it's so easy to contract the virus, very easy. And therefore, you never know what's going to happen to you as you go out to work. You never know whether they're going to come back and infect your own children, your own family for that matter. And then at the same time, we've been hearing stories, the shortage of PPEs. These people are working, but the safety gears, it's not there, and even if it's there, it's not enough. So it's more like you're risking your life for the sake of saving other people, which of course is quite a good thing and they should be lauded for. At the same time also, what I'm thinking is this, if they say that they feel like going to jury is suicidal, what does that say about the manner in which our government takes care of the workers who are working for the state? Because they are the soldiers now, they are doing the job, they're in the forefront, right at the head, they're spearing the war now, they're facing the war with their lives, and yet there's no protective gear. Imagine you go in war, you're not carrying a gun, there's no shield for yourself, no helmet, but you're going to fight. What does that mean to you? The chances of surviving there are very slim, but they still wake up every morning, they go to work. We should really laud those people. Then if you look at the president there, when he says that encouraging people to keep on safety gears in churches, maintaining social distance, my question is, you have these people in hospitals, there's influx, people are coming in numbers, the cases are increasing. How is it going to be possible to keep that social distance? Because I think for the next 2 years, we might be still having this same problem of these cases. It's not something that's going to disappear anytime soon. So the nurses, they're doing a good job, but they are at risk. You can't shy away from that. That's the scariest part of it.
I think it's very safe to say the government is trying by all means to make sure that the numbers do not increase on a daily basis. But obviously at this point, we're looking at a situation of saving the economy and also saving the health system from collapsing.
Don't you think you can't have both? You can't have both. Can you save the economy?
It's obviously very much impossible to save both. But had we continued with level 5, rather with the regulations of level 5, I do believe that we would have had more cases of people complaining that the social grant is not enough, the relief fund rather is not enough, this and that, the president is not considering other people's situations. So it's quite difficult for the government to actually try and combat, you know, and try and make sure that people are satisfied under these circumstances. But we can still continue with this conversation, our social media pages, particularly Facebook. What do you think? What do you think the government can actually do to make sure that we fight the spread of COVID-19, and also considering the fact that there are people that are putting their lives at risk, nurses to be quite specific, to make sure that they save people's lives. What do you say? What's your thought on that? But before we actually close the show, we would like, as Galaxy TV, to applaud all the essential workers, all the lifesavers that are putting their lives at risk to make sure that we end this pandemic together. My name is Zola Gasholwana. You're watching Afternoon Express, and thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
It was really amazing. We'll see you guys same time, same place. The conversation actually continues on Galaxy TV, on all our social media platforms. Goodbye.
Uthando nokuzikhandla nokusebenza ngokubambisana ikona kanye kuzosiza ekuthenini sikwazi ukulisana negciwane le-coronavirus.
Kila mtu anaweza kubeba virusi hivi vya corona.
Una don't see wetin dey happen for town now. Coronavirus dey kpai people like say no tomorrow.
Social distancing is the new etiquette. Least we never forget.
Dulang khaye and help.
To stop the spread of this virus.
I'm here to plead with you guys, but you know what? Use a mask.
Wash your hands with soap and sanitizer and keep the good spirit.
Make you always wash your hand before you fear.
Dlala indima yakho.
It's not just for you, it's for the next person, ugogo, umkhulu, your uncle.
Healthcare workers stay at home so that they may see their homes too.
Well, as we are facing a pandemic, Galaxy News on Starset is pledging you to not just to protect yourself, but to protect others and the people you love.